So everybody loves firsts, don't they? It's great to come first in a race, be the first in your class, be the firstborn, first kiss, first house, your very first car, loads and loads of those things bring forth to humans that sense of something not tried before, something new, something different, something exciting happening. If you compare it to lasts, depressing. Oh, it's the last time I'm ever going to. That sounds just so final, so awful. So firsts are really, really exciting things. And today, this episode is about firsts. It's the first time that I've been out in a wood in the evening for a long time. It's the first time I've worn these trousers. It's hopefully going to be the first time that I come out to a wood and not get bitten by gnats and not spend the rest of the week scratching. Let's hope anyway. So I'm well dressed up. And it's also another first, because this episode of today is the very first time that I'm going to be using this. Now this is the new, old, this second-hand Fuji GFX50R. 50 megapixels of loveliness, which I'm hoping is going to do something for my photography, which I'll tell you about another time. But I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to look at the files when I get back, because tomorrow I'm flying off to Jersey to do some seascapes and have a little general explore of the island. So I don't want to be going over there and finding I've forgotten something or something doesn't work. So it's going to be a bit of a discovery mission for me. It's a Fuji camera and I'm used to using Fuji, so that shouldn't be too bad. I've had a little setup last night, plugged the battery and charged it up, and this is the first time I'm going to be shooting with it. So I'm excited. It's a first. Hope you enjoy the episode. Thanks for tuning in.
Turn up the dial. You know what you gotta do. Get wild. You ain't gotta play it cool. Get wild. Take a rocket to the moon. Get wild. Get wild.
So I found my first composition. Looking at a really interesting tree here with some lovely grasses, some mosses. There's a pond down here which is normally full of water, but it's not today. There's some lovely old trees. I've got one going this way, one kind of bending in that way. And what's kind of nice and kind of not nice about this time of year, because this is the start of September. We've had such a dry summer here in Europe that some of the ferns and the bracken has died off and it's gone brown, and it's a bit early. It's normally October. But it should mean we get an extended kind of autumn, which will be quite interesting. I don't think it's too good for the wildlife though, so fingers crossed everything works out okay. 2-second timer. We've got F13, F11, 1.3 seconds. And there we are, my very first image with the Fuji GFX50R. So I'm losing the light really quickly, although it looks light to you. Going to explore with the camera, because my main mission tonight is get the GFX50R out and have a look at the files. So I'm going to put the vlogging camera away, take some pictures. I'll show you them on the screen now. The next time you see me, I'll be in Jersey. I'm flying out tomorrow night and I want to do some seascapes. And on Jersey, one of the beaches there, I'll tell you why and try and explain to you why I bought an old camera which has now been discontinued over my X-T4, which I've still got, but why I wanted to buy this camera, because I think it's going to make a world of difference at sunrise. So until Jersey then, enjoy these pictures and I'll see you. I'm off.
Their style, their big smile, for that style.
And just like that, I'm in Jersey. Wow. Quite lost for words, actually. Arrived about 2 hours ago, picked up the hire car, didn't even bother with the hotel. We just sort of drove around to have a look at some coastline, and we're here with a mate who's looking at the lighthouse at the moment for the week. This is Corbiere lighthouse, and look, I never shoot normally in these conditions, but it's 10 o'clock in the morning. The lighthouse is lit up beautifully and the tide is in exactly the right place. I mean, there's a very, very good chance that I'm going to get better than this doing this week. But I thought, well, take your chances. I've been up to Scotland before and seen a bit of light on the way up, and then haven't seen any light for the rest of the week. So I thought I'd grab this opportunity while I can. And isn't it stunning? I mean, the colours of the sea are just a lovely green colour. These rocks are beautiful. They're not slippery because they're kind of rough. They've got little barnacles or whatever they're called, shells on them. The sea splashing. I've got lots of interest through the whole of this scene. It's just the most amazing thing. I've got the GFX50R. It's the first time I've used it in earnest, really, and I'm just speechless. I'm going to tell you why I bought that in a second, but for now, just enjoy this. So what I've got here is a polarizer on the front, just to take the reflection off the water. It also darkens down the sky, which has changed a little bit since I've got this set up. I've got a three-stop grad on the top just to hold the sky back in. I want to get this dark dramatic sky against the lighthouse, which is going to show up really well. I've got a nice leading line with the waves through the front here. Woo! Looking really good. And I'm using a cable release which fits the Fuji system, and that's one of the reasons that swayed me to get GFX50R rather than the Nikon Z7 II, which I was thinking about very seriously. Do that one. Wow, that looks good. Until the camera's turned, there we go. Beautiful. But the main reason I got this camera is not probably for what you're thinking. Most people think, oh, you've got a medium format camera for the megapixels and the sharpness, but that's nice. I do like that. I do crop into my pictures quite a lot, so that will be useful. But the main reason I've got this camera is because of the colour, the amount of colour between white and black that this will record, the colour gradient, would you call it? Colour range, maybe, on the XT4. I find sometimes at sunrise that I'm finding that these sun bits, the bit lit up by the sun, it's just too much to cope with. I'm HDRing it and I'm still not finding that I'm getting enough colours in it. And I think with this sensor, it's going to pick up a lot more subtle colours. And I think it's going to look a lot more realistic. Certainly from what I found online, that seems to be the case. So I'm looking forward to using it. The rain's now coming, so we might have to come back and do this again at sunset, but it's a fantastic location. Yuck. Okay, this photography's going to stop, not because I'm going to get wet, but because the filters and everything are going to get soaked, which is not going to work. So I'll come back to you later on. So the great thing about Seascapes is the sea. It sounds ridiculous. If you've never seen the work of Rachel Talibart, then I highly recommend you go and check her out. She does lots of stuff with just waves, which are awesome in stormy conditions. And I'm doing something similar here. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near as good as her stuff, but I've got a very swirly, swelly tide as the tide comes in, and the sea hitting these lovely rocks down the bottom here. And I'm just playing with some shutter speeds, bash. Trying to get the shutter speed just how I like it, so the water is slightly blurred, but also there's definition in it. And just as it bashes around the rocks, It's about observing and watching what happens, but in a sea like this, when it's just swirling around, it's very, very hard to predict. I've got no self-timer on it because it just wouldn't work. I've not got any cable release actually, which I could do, I guess, but because I'm using an eighth or a tenth of a second, something around there, I'm happy enough that this is solid on the tripod. I'm just going to hit the shutter when I think it looks good, and often it looks good a fraction of a second after you think it looks good. You see what I mean? I'm tending to shoot a bit too quickly on this, but it's actually been a load of fun while we wait for the sun. There we go. While we wait for the sun to go down. So now it's just a waiting game, really. We've got half an hour until sunset. Now, there are some clouds building up a little bit. I'd love a load more. Don't think there's quite enough here, really. I'm thinking about compositions, but I can't really do much more than think about them because I don't know where the tide's going to end up. This rock pool I had originally as my foreground is now part of the sea, so obviously that's going to come in. That's how it was formed. Depends on how high the tide comes. You can normally tell by looking at the rocks. If that stays the same, these could be underwater, and in which case they're not going to work. But I've got an interesting boulder over here, which I quite like. There's some little group of plants, so you maybe can't see them. There's a group of plants and a group of plants there, which are quite nice. What I will be looking for, though, is a leading line, some splashy water, and the lighthouse off in the distance. This is going to be nice, this bit here. I'd imagine I'm going to be using that. The lighthouse is going to be kind of silhouetted, but not totally, because I'm going to wait for the sun to go under the horizon, below the horizon. So it will be dark, but everything will be darker. But I can easily just lighten it up a touch in Lightroom, so I know that's going to be the case, especially with a GFX file. So I think really the only thing to do now is just to watch the clock, just wait, keep thinking about ideas and see what we get. I think we'll get something. I think if I'm honest, we're going to probably come back in a couple of days' time and do it when the tide is a bit lower. That would be my preference. And actually the stuff from this morning was better than this, I think. But if that's the case, I'm really happy with what we got because it looked fantastic. So, but we're here now, so we might as well wait. I've got a steak waiting for me in a restaurant upper state, so can't wait for that. Right, see what happens.
Breathing slowly, the smoke might burn your eyes. Listen closely, tears won't help this time. Break the ceiling. It's made of thin glass. Face the
Right, we're ready. I left the lens cap on still. The filter's already here. I was actually further down and just got a very wet foot. Luckily I grabbed the tripod just in time because that was a really big wave. But this shot here is this, I'm going to concentrate on this group of flowers. We're going to do it portrait. There's already some lovely light on the side of the lighthouse now actually. This is looking better than I thought it could do. Some wispy clouds that are interesting. If we just get the clouds moved this way, we might have a nice shot here. But this bit along here is definitely going to be underwater in about 10 minutes. So I've now got a plant, some rocks leading onto the lighthouse, which will be in the top right hand of the thirds, and hope I can see a little bit more rocks in the foreground. That's what I would like, but it's not going to get a lot higher than this. We've got another 20 minutes to go. So hopefully I think this bit's going to be okay. Right, let's make sure I don't get wet again. Everything I need's in here. Polarizer, grads. I'm definitely going to need a grad or two, so we'll wait and see what the light does. But it's looking okay. What I'm going to do now, I've decided that my foreground is going to be this plant. Okay, it's lovely, it's beautiful, it's holding this, it's hanging off this rock here. So I'm just going to get the tripod to the right height. Making sure that it's sturdy. It's definitely going to need at least, oh, the light looks really lovely now. It's definitely going to need at least 2 stops of graduation on it. Maybe even a polarizer, because there is some water in the shot. If the sky turns out to be rubbish, and actually I don't think it's going to be, I think it's going to be alright, then I'll include more of the flowers, sorry, the plant. But if the sky's okay, I might chip the camera up a little bit more so we get a little bit more sky. But actually that, at the moment, needs quite a lot of dynamic range in it, so it might need bracketing. The problem with bracketing for seascapes is when the sea moves, you can never replicate that. Focus stacking is what I meant actually. I would quite like to focus that. I'm using f16. This lens goes up to f32. So f32 is probably going to be a no-no. There's going to be diffraction if I can get away with it, but I might have to go up to f22 just to make sure that this is in focus and the lighthouse is in focus. I could focus on the middle rock, which you can't see over there, so I might do 3 exposures and hope I don't have to blend them. But if I do, I do. This might turn out to be a really good evening and much better than I expected. The lighthouse is bang centre in the middle of the screen, but I want to focus. And again, the other thing I've realised with this camera, which I really like, and the XT4 has got, but I've never really used, is the fact that you can just use the touchscreen to focus, and that's a lovely idea once I've remembered to do it. Wonderful. That looks good. Right, let's get some filters for the front, and I'll put them down here. So I use leaf filters. I gave them a good clean this afternoon, anticipating shooting into the sun, which you know I've done before, and you need to have it really clean for that. So we're going to put the filter on the closest slot next to the lens, because that means that if there is any dirt whatsoever, it's got more chance of being out of focus. That, I tell you what, that's looking good. Actually, I'm going to get a little bit of sun in. That's beautiful. Right, let's do some shots then. Right, so I found quite a nice composition here actually. I've got some rocks that are leading into the lighthouse. I've got I hope I don't get wet. I've got the waves breaking over those rocks, and I've got a 1/4 second exposure, which is about bang on. So that is going to look nice. The backwash often looks nice. There's another one. Colour's gone out of the sky a bit. I think the clouds, the cloud has gone, the sun's gone behind the cloud, or the cloud's gone over the sun, so the colours looks like it's disappeared. I'm getting a little bit worried about this sea, but I think I'm high enough up that it should, he says, as he gets wet, should be fine. Lovely scene though, it looks beautiful. Well, these files are quite big, so I will have to go and edit these and take a lot of them off, but still some nice light in the lighthouse, you know. Really looks good. Make sure we're focused. Good, lovely, looks great. Right, so we're nearly there. Sun's gone down now. I think there's going to be a looks like a blanket of cloud on the horizon, which is stopping it really lighting up. But actually, the lighthouse has now got the light on. It's not too bad. I could do with staying here another 20 minutes or so, which I'm going to, but I've got a polarizer just to take the reflection out of the water. I'm still playing with the shutter speeds. I'm still on about a second. I've gone down to f16 now. What I'm going to do now, I think, is flick to portrait and zoom in a lot more. And then what we're going to do is maybe a square crop, well, like look nice, just with the bottom of these rocks here. But the lighthouse against the sky looks lovely. So that's where the main interest is. So 2 or 3 more shots, I think, and then we'll. Oh, look at the colour over there. Looks lovely. Wow. If that moves over, we might be in luck. Right, another 10 minutes, we should be fine, I think.
Breathing slowly, the smoke might burn your eyes. Listen closely, tears won't help this time. Break the ceiling. It's made of thin glass. Face the feeling.
So there we go. It's got too dark now and we've got a steak to eat, so off to a restaurant. But interesting shoot, not 100% happy with it. I mean, it looks lovely, but it could have looked better, I think. I was just saying to my mate Tim, who you'll hear about if you've watched episode 1 or my introduction. Tim was the guy I met on the cruise ships all those years ago, and we've been lifelong friends ever since. It's been really nice to have him with me. But I said to him, he said, oh, it was really good. I said, well, it's just feel a bit disappointed, and I think the reason for it is could have been fantastic, but was almost. So if we don't get any more from here, then that's going to be it. I'm going to round the vlog off here and say thank you very much. We might come back to Corbiere again, and if we do, then I'll do that as a separate vlog for next week. But other places to explore, so we'll see. So again, thanks ever so much for tuning in as ever. Thanks for subscribing if you have. If you haven't, please consider doing so. It'll be really, really good. Like the video, helps the channel an awful lot. And if you want to leave any comments about the pictures, then please do so. I'll leave you with the images from this evening. The GFX has been great. I've really enjoyed using that. It's been a lovely evening if I get no photographs. But until next week, thanks very much. Goodbye.
Breathing slowly, the smoke might burn your eyes. Listen closely, tears won't help this time. Break the ceiling. It's made of thin glass. Face the